Hi, welcome in. This is an original Tales Fair story, and I'm glad you're here. Let's begin.
My mom invited everyone to her 60th birthday, except me and my 8-year-old. She wrote, "All my children brought this family respect, except Erica. She chose to be a lowly single mom. I no longer see her as my daughter." I didn't cry. Next time she saw me, she went pale because if you've never had your child ask you a question that makes your blood go cold, I hope you never do. It's like someone quietly pulls the floor out from under you, but you still have to stand there and smile because your kid needs dinner, not a breakdown. It was one of those regular Tuesday nights that are only regular if you don't count the fact that elementary schools run on chaos and glitter. My daughter Daisy was at the kitchen table doing her spelling words, hunched over the page with her tongue poking out the side of her mouth. Her, "I'm taking this very seriously" face. I was half listening, half packing her lunch, trying to remember if tomorrow was crazy hair day or favorite color day. Schools love a theme. My mother loved a standard. I was circling because on Daisy's worksheet when she appeared at my elbow holding her kid phone in both hands. Her eyes were big, not teary yet, just unsure. "Mom," she said. "Yeah, baby." She swallowed. "What does lowly mean?" The word landed on the table between us like a broken plate. I kept my face neutral the way you do when a child says something alarming and you're trying not to scare them. "Where did you see that?" I asked, like she'd found a new vocabulary word in a book and not in the mouth of my mother. Daisy turned the phone toward me. "Caleb sent me this." My stomach dropped. Caleb is my sister Yvonne's son. He's 10, old enough to read everything, young enough to still think adults are mostly sensible. Daisy added quickly, "He said I wasn't supposed to show you, but I didn't like it, and I didn't understand it." On the screen was a screenshot of a family group chat. Not my chat. Not my school mom's chat. The other one. The family one. The one my mother treated like it was her personal bulletin board. My eyes went straight to my mom's message. It was written like an announcement. Like she was canceling an event. Like she was firing an employee. 60th birthday dinner, Saturday at 6. Everyone is invited. Except Erica. And then, in case anyone wasn't clear on the reasoning, all my children brought this family respect. Except Erica. She chose to be a lowly single mom. I no longer see her as my daughter. Under it were reactions. My dad, my actual father, had responded with a thumbs up. Yvonne had reacted with a heart. My brother Philip wrote, "Agreed." My younger sister Mallory didn't write anything. She just liked it. Like my mom had posted a photo of her new curtains, like my disowning was a home decor choice. No one mentioned Daisy, not once. I heard the faint hum of our fridge. I noticed a crumb on the table. My brain did that emergency thing where it gets weirdly quiet and efficient, like it's trying to save battery. Daisy watched my face carefully, the way kids do. 8-year-olds don't need explanations. They need one look. I forced my voice to stay soft. "Lowly," I said, "is a word people use when they want to make someone feel small." Daisy frowned. "Why would anyone want to do that?" "Because my mother thinks love is earned with image," I almost said. Instead, I said, "Sometimes grown-ups get weird." Daisy looked at the screen again. "Grandma wrote that about you." I nodded once. "Yeah." She hesitated. "Did you do something bad?" There it was. The question under every child's question. If an adult is cruel, a child assumes someone must have deserved it, because the alternative is terrifying. I reached for Daisy's hand. "No," I said. "I didn't do anything bad, and neither did you." Her eyes shimmered. She didn't cry. Daisy is stubborn. That's mine. My mother would call it unfortunate. I took the phone gently and set it face down on the table like it was radioactive. Then I did the next thing my brain demanded. I tried to open the family chat myself. I tapped the group name in my messages. Nothing. I searched. Nothing. I scrolled back, like it might be hiding between dentist appointment reminder and pay electric bill. Nothing. My chest tightened. I hadn't missed an invite. I'd been erased. Daisy whispered, "So, we're not invited?" I swallowed hard. "No!" She stared at her spelling sheet like it had betrayed her. "But Grandma always has a birthday." That simple line, the one that wasn't dramatic at all, hurt more than the screenshot. Because it wasn't about me. It was about Daisy realizing her place in the family had conditions too. I took a slow breath. "Daisy," I said, keeping my voice steady, "go brush your teeth, okay? And pick your dragon book. The dragon always wins." She hesitated at the doorway. "Are you okay?" "I'm okay," I said, and it wasn't a lie. Not exactly. I was upright. I was breathing. I was still a mom in a kitchen with spelling words and lunch boxes. That counts as okay. Daisy patted away. I stared at the screenshot again. The words didn't blur. They didn't soften. They didn't become less true because I wanted them to. Then my phone buzzed. Yvonne. Of course. I answered because I needed one thing before I moved. Confirmation. Not for my feelings. For my sanity. "Erica," Yvonne said, already sounding irritated, like I had inconvenienced her by being disowned. "Listen, is it real?" I asked. A pause. A sigh. "You saw it. So it's real." "Mom was upset," Yvonne said quickly. "You know how she gets. She told the whole family I'm not her daughter anymore." "Why are you making this such a big thing?" Yvonne snapped. My grip tightened around the phone. "Because my 8-year-old just brought me your mom's message," I said calmly. "Caleb sent Daisy a screenshot, and she asked me what lowly means." There was silence. Not shocked silence. Not embarrassed silence. Just recalculating silence. "Caleb shouldn't have sent that," Yvonne finally said, missing the point so completely it almost felt like a choice. "Okay," I said. "So you're confirming it's real." Yvonne exhaled sharply. "It's Mom's birthday. Don't start drama." I looked at the screenshot again. My dad's thumbs up, Philip's agreed, Mallory's like. The whole family lining up behind her like my existence was optional. "I'm not starting drama," I said. "I'm ending contact." Yvonne scoffed. "Unbelievable." I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I didn't plead like I was applying to be loved. I said, "Tell Mom she got what she wanted." Then I hung up. I blocked my mom. I blocked my dad. I blocked Yvonne, Philip, and Mallory. No warning, no paragraph, no emotional TED Talk. Just silence. Because I wasn't going to perform my pain for people who treated it like a nuisance. When Daisy came back in her pajamas holding her dragon book, she climbed into my lap like she always did. Her small body was warm and heavy and real. "Read?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, kissing her hair. "We're reading." And while the dragon defeated monsters and saved villages, I made a promise I meant with my whole chest. No one would ever make my child feel lowly. Not on my watch. And if you're wondering why I'm telling you this, why I'm still calm enough to put words to it at all, here's the only thing you need to know for now. The next time my family saw me, their faces went pale, and they regretted everything. Families like mine don't usually start with one big cinematic betrayal. They start with small cuts. Little oops moments you can explain away if you're desperate enough to keep believing you belong. My mom, Phyllis on paper, mom in my life, was obsessed with image. Not influencer image. Older. polished, the kind of image built in church foyers and neighborhood gatherings where everyone pretends their lives are fine. We were middle class, but my mom treated middle class like a temporary condition, like we were all one correct choice away from being admired. Yvonne was the golden child. Yvonne could sneeze wrong, and my mom would call it cute. Philip was the brag-worthy one. Not because he was kind, because he looked successful. He had a job title people nodded at and a car he waxed like it was a personality. Mallory was the quiet one, the peacemaker, the let's not upset mom sister. Mallory could watch a house burn down and whisper, "Let's not make a scene." And then there was me. I wasn't reckless. I wasn't irresponsible. I got good grades. I worked. I paid my bills. I showed up with casseroles and gifts and a smile that said, "Please don't decide I'm too much today." But I wasn't effortless. My mom loved effortless. People who made her look like she'd done everything right. So when I got pregnant with Daisy, the first words out of my mom's mouth weren't, "Are you okay?" They were, "Are you married?" A hypothetical question. She knew I wasn't married. "No." "Engaged?" "No." Her face tightened like she'd swallowed something bitter. People will talk. People. Always people. I told her I was keeping my baby. I said it calmly. I meant it. My mom did the things that looked like support. She visited. She brought a blanket. She took one photo and then asked, very casually, "Don't post it with any details, okay? I don't want questions." That's the kind of sentence you don't hear properly until years later. My mom didn't hate Daisy as a person. She hated what Daisy represented, a life that didn't match the family narrative. And over time, that turned into mistakes. The first one I really remember happened when Daisy was 3. There was a family barbecue at my aunt's house. Everyone was talking about it for weeks. Yvonne was coordinating sides. Philip was coordinating nothing but still took credit. My mom was coordinating the vibe. My invitation never came. Not a text. Not a call. Not a, "Hey, are you coming?" Nothing. I found out afterward when Yvonne mentioned, "Oh, you should have seen Dad trying to grill. It was hilarious." I smiled like I wasn't choking. "I didn't even know about it." Yvonne blinked. Then she did the fake surprised face. "Wait, what? Mom said she told you." "She didn't." "You're kidding," Yvonne said, in the tone of someone inconvenienced by reality. "Well, of course you can come next time." Next time. Like I was asking to be added to a mailing list. I wanted to believe it was a mistake, because the alternative was admitting my family could pretend I didn't exist. Then it happened again. Different event, same feeling. Someone mentioned something small afterward, like it wasn't a big deal I wasn't there. When I asked, my mom said, "Oh, I thought you knew." I didn't accuse. I didn't scream. I did that thing women do when they're trying to stay lovable. I swallowed it and told myself I was being sensitive. Then the kids started echoing the adults. One day, Daisy and Caleb were playing in the living room while the adults talked in the kitchen. I was rinsing dishes when I heard Caleb's voice drift in, casual and confident. "Grandma said you guys don't come to stuff because your mom makes things complicated." Daisy went still. "My mom isn't complicated." She said, Caleb started again, then saw my face and stopped. Kids repeat what they hear. They don't understand the weight of it. They just hand it over like a toy. I dried my hands, walked in, and knelt down so I was eye level with both of them. "Caleb," I said gently, "if Grandma says something about me, you don't need to bring it into this room, okay?" Caleb's face flushed. Daisy's eyes filled. And in that moment, I realized something that changed how I saw everything. My mother wasn't just judging me. She was teaching the next generation how to judge me too. That's when I started drawing lines. Not dramatic lines, real ones. Doors that close. If Daisy isn't welcome, Neither am I. I said it calmly. I meant it. My mom would nod like she understood, then later act like she'd never heard the words. Because people like my mother don't see boundaries as reality. They see them as tantrums you'll outgrow when you need something. Then came the group chat message, the one Daisy saw first. My mom didn't just exclude me, she wrote it down. She made it official. My dad and siblings agreed like it was normal. And that's when I realized the mistakes weren't mistakes. People think no contact is dramatic. It isn't. It's mostly quiet. No one shows up at your door with a sad violin soundtrack. You just stop receiving calls, stop checking your phone, stop rehearsing conversations in your head that will never give you the parent you wanted. And at first, that quiet feels unnatural, like you left the house without your keys. Then slowly, it starts to feel like oxygen. Over the next 3 years, Daisy grew from 8 to 11. Her voice got louder, her legs got longer, her opinions got stronger. At first, she watched me carefully, like she was waiting for the other shoe to drop. Then she stopped waiting. She got busy being a kid again, until one day she said out of nowhere, "Mom, I'm glad our house is quiet." Kids understand more than we think. They just don't always have the words right away. Money was still real, though. Single motherhood isn't a vibe. It's math. And math doesn't care that my mother disowned me in a group chat. Math says rent, groceries, childcare. The random school fee that shows up like an ambush and expects to be paid in full by tomorrow. So I worked. Not in a cute boss babe way. In a, my kid is asleep and I'm still awake because I refuse to let her life shrink that way. During the day, I was Daisy's whole world. At night, when the apartment finally went quiet, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and a very simple goal. If my mother wanted to call me lowly, fine. I'd be lowly. I'd be lowly and unstoppable. I started helping a few local businesses get their mess under control. Not because I loved business, because I loved food in the fridge and my daughter sleeping without hearing me panic. It was work no one bragged about, which made it perfect for me. I didn't need applause. I needed traction. Then I noticed something. Everybody was drowning for the same reason. No system, just chaos and hope. And hope is not a strategy. So I built one. Nothing fancy, nothing that needed a TED Talk. Just something clean that kept people on track and kept money from slipping through cracks. It worked. People started asking for it, then sharing it, then forwarding it to friends like it was contraband. And suddenly, I wasn't chasing clients anymore. My inbox was chasing me. When we hit 3,000 paying users, I stared at the number like it might evaporate if I blinked. 3 years earlier, I was counting grocery money. Now I was building something that could actually carry us. And Daisy, sweet, blunt Daisy, looked at me one night and said, "Mom, you don't look scared anymore." That's when I knew it had really changed. Then a small local business article mentioned my company. Nothing flashy, just enough to put my name somewhere public. I didn't share it. I didn't post it. I didn't tag anyone. But I forgot one thing. My family still had eyes. The first attempt to re-enter didn't come with an apology. Of course not. It came with an unknown number on my phone and a voicemail that started with my mother's voice pretending we hadn't been strangers for 3 years. "Erica," she said, bright and practiced, "call me. We need to talk." Need. Not want. Need. Then she added, like she was offering me something. "I saw you're doing very well. I always knew you would." I deleted it. The second attempt came through Yvonne, because Yvonne loves being a messenger when it gives her power. A text from a new number. It's Yvonne. "Mom wants to make peace. Don't be stubborn." "No, I'm sorry." "No, that was wrong. Just don't be stubborn. like my boundaries were an attitude problem. I didn't reply. The third attempt was the one that made my blood run cold. Daisy's kid phone buzzed at breakfast. She glanced at the screen and slid it toward me without a word. "Grandma," flashed at the top. My mom had found Daisy's number. I stared at it like it was a snake in my kitchen. Daisy watched me, jaw tight. "I didn't give it to her," she said quickly. "I swear." "I know," I said, and I meant it. Daisy isn't sneaky. She's honest in that blunt kid way that makes you want to apologize to every adult who ever misread you. I let it go to voicemail. My mom's voice chirped through the speaker like she was calling about a bake sale. "Hi, Daisy. It's Grandma. Tell your mom to call me back. I miss you. I have something special for you." Something special. My mother's favorite bait. Daisy's face twisted. "I don't want something special." I felt rage rise up, and then I did what I've learned to do. I put it in a box and kept it from spilling onto my child. "Okay," I said calmly. "We're going to handle this." I didn't call my mom. I didn't open the door to a conversation she could turn into a weapon. I called Daisy's school and asked them to update her file. No contact with extended family without my written permission. Period. It wasn't dramatic. It was adult. It was the kind of boundary you build with paperwork. That same week, I got another call. This one from a cousin I still trusted. The kind of relative who doesn't love drama, but also doesn't lie. "Just so you know," she said carefully, "your mom's been telling people she always supported you. She's saying the family is very proud." I let out one short laugh. Not because it was funny, because the audacity was almost impressive. "And Philip," my cousin added, hesitating. "He's been mentioning you in meetings. Like you're connected." Connected. My brother Philip wasn't reaching out because he missed me. He was reaching out because my name was now useful. A week later, the fourth attempt arrived in the most my mother way possible. A polite email. Not to me. To the event organizer of a business awards night I was scheduled to attend. The organizer forwarded it to my assistant with a simple question. "Is this legitimate family?" My assistant brought it to me with that careful professional face people wear when they're trying not to pry. The email was from my mom. She wrote, "I am Erica's mother. Our family will be attending to support her. Please ensure we are seated appropriately." Appropriately. Like love comes with assigned seating. I stared at the screen, feeling that old familiar tightness in my chest. And then I understood exactly what was happening. My family wasn't coming to celebrate me. They were coming to be photographed near me. They were coming to cash in the story they'd rewritten. Proud parents, supportive siblings, loving grandparents. A family that never disowned anyone. The only problem was, I had receipts. I opened a folder on my computer titled Proof, because yes, I'm a single mom, and yes, I'm petty in a responsible way, and I pulled up the screenshot of my mother's group chat message. Then I forwarded it to the event organizer with one calm note. "Thank you for checking. This person disowned me in writing. They are not authorized VIP/family section guests. Please notify security if they approach the stage or my daughter." No rant, no essay, just facts. Because facts are harder to gaslight. That night, after Daisy went to bed, I sat at my kitchen table and stared at the blank space where my mother's love used to be. I didn't cry. I didn't spiral. I didn't even feel surprised. I felt steady. At the time, I thought the worst thing had already happened. I didn't know yet that the next time my family showed up, it would end with them wishing they'd never said my name. The night of the event, Daisy stood in front of the mirror twisting her hair, trying to decide whether she looked fancy enough for a room full of people in blazers. She was 11 now, still my kid, still stubborn, just tall enough to see over the lies. "Do I look okay?" she asked. You look perfect, I said, smoothing her collar. We arrived early. The venue was all high ceilings and flattering lights, the kind of place where people pretend they've never ugly cried in a car. Cameras by the entrance, a step-and-repeat backdrop, tiny glasses of expensive liquids that taste like regret. Daisy squeezed my hand. Why are there so many people? Because grown-ups like to clap for each other, I said. It's basically a pep rally, but with blazers. She giggled, and for a second my chest loosened. Because no matter what happened, Daisy and I were together. We always had been. This was a public event. Anyone with a ticket could come in, which meant my family could show up. But they weren't getting anywhere near us this time. So when Daisy and I sat near the front, my name printed in the program, I felt steady. Then the air changed. You know that feeling when a room shifts before you see why? Like your spine gets an alert? I felt it. Daisy felt it too. Her hand tightened around mine. Mom, she whispered. I turned my head just enough. There they were. My mom. My dad. Yvonne. Philip and Mallory filed into the back rows under the dimmer lights, the way you seat people who arrived late and expected VIP anyway. My mother was dressed like she'd planned a photo. Pearls. Cream. Respectable. From head to toe. From the back of the room, it didn't look respectable. It looked desperate. She spotted me and lifted her chin like she was about to reclaim territory. Then she stood up and started moving down the aisle. Of course she did. Daisy's voice went thin. Is she coming here? She's trying, I murmured. And that's when my mom tried to walk toward the stage. Not at a run, not making a full scene yet. Just a steady march toward the front rows, the cameras, the family section she believed she deserved. An event staff member stepped into her path with a polite smile and a spine made of steel. Ma'am, she said gently, your seats are in the back. My mom's mouth tightened. I'm her mother. The staff member didn't blink. Your seats are still in the back. My mom tried to step around her. The staff member moved with her, like a living boundary. I didn't move. I didn't rescue her pride. She'd spent years burying mine. My mom argued for one more beat, long enough for heads to turn, then finally backed down and walked stiffly back to her row. Yvonne's smile vanished. Philip leaned in, whispering fast. My dad stared forward like he didn't want to be recorded having a conscience. The program continued. Speeches, awards, applause. Then my name was called. Daisy looked up at me like I was about to jump off a cliff. Go, she whispered. I walked to the stage, took the microphone, and looked out at the room. I saw cameras. I saw a live stream screen off to the side. I saw a sea of faces. And in the back, I saw my family sitting where they belonged, far enough away that they couldn't pretend we were close. I took a breath. I'd planned not to mention them. I wanted to win without speaking their names. But then I remembered Daisy's voice at our kitchen table. What does lowly mean? And I realized something. If I stayed silent, the shame would stay ours. So I made a choice. I'm a single mom, I said. And I built this without a safety net. A few people nodded. The room got quieter. My daughter and I started in a small apartment with a kitchen table that doubled as a desk and a dinner table. There were nights I wanted to quit, but I couldn't, because I had someone watching me learn what worthy looks like. I paused, just long enough for the room to lean in. 3 years ago, my mother wrote in our family chat, all my children brought this family respect, except Erica. She chose to be a lowly single mom. I no longer see her as my daughter. The room went still in that stunned public way. Not gossip still, truth still. I kept my tone calm, not angry, not theatrical, just factual, like reading something that should never have been written. I'm not sharing that for sympathy, I continued. I'm sharing it because it's part of what I overcame. And because if anyone has ever tried to make you feel small for surviving, hear me? You can build anyway. I didn't look at the back rows. I didn't need to. I could feel them shrinking from across the room. Then I pivoted because I wasn't giving them my whole speech. I thanked my team. I thanked the people who supported me. And I thanked Daisy because she was the only family I needed to name. Applause broke out. Real applause. When I stepped off stage, Daisy launched into me, whispering, "Mom, you were so strong." I held her close and whispered back, "So were you." We headed toward the lobby. That's when Philip intercepted us, moving fast like he was trying to catch the story before it ran away. "What was that?" he hissed. I didn't stop walking. "The truth." He blocked my path. "You didn't have to say that." I finally looked at him. "You didn't have to agree with it." His face tightened. My mom appeared behind him, eyes glossy with rage. "How could you do that to me?" I didn't raise my voice. "You wrote it." "That was private," she snapped. I let out a short, humorless laugh. "You posted it to the family and everyone reacted to it. That's not private. That's a declaration." Yvonne jumped in, whispering urgently, "People will think." "I don't care what people think," I said, steady. "I care what my child learns." My dad finally spoke, quiet and weak. "Erica." I looked at him. "You gave it a thumbs up." He flinched like he'd forgotten receipts existed. Daisy squeezed my hand. I turned away from them without another word and walked out with my daughter. And for the first time, the story wasn't theirs to spin. A year later, life didn't magically turn perfect, but it did turn solid. The company grew. We landed a major partnership big enough to make the local news. One of those "look at her now" segments people watch while folding laundry. Daisy sat on the couch beside me, staring at the TV like it was a portal. When the anchor said my name, Daisy smiled and said simply, "That's my mom." That sentence was worth more than any number on a screen. Then the doorbell rang one Saturday afternoon. 3 quick chimes. Urgent. I opened the door, and there they were. My mom in the front, my dad behind her, Philip and Yvonne off to the side, Mallory lingering like she'd been dragged there against her will. My mom's eyes flicked over the house and the quiet and the safety, and you could see calculation behind her expression. Then she put on her face, the reasonable woman mask. "Erica," she said softly, "we need help." Of course. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "I was wrong." Help. Philip stepped forward, already angry like it was my fault. "After that night, things got complicated." I tilted my head. "Interesting choice of word." His jaw clenched. "Clients backed out. Partners got cold. People sent that clip around. They said I misrepresented connections." Connections? Meaning me. My mom's voice trembled. "We might lose the house." My dad cleared his throat. "We're family." Behind me, Daisy appeared in the hallway, silent and watching. I looked at my mom. "You wrote you didn't see me as your daughter." My mom's eyes flashed. "I was upset." "You were clear," I said. Daisy took one small step forward and said, quiet but steady, "You called my mom lowly." My mom flinched. Because it hits different when a child says it. I didn't gloat. I didn't preach. I didn't perform forgiveness. I just said the truth. "You don't get to disown me and then show up when you need money," I said. "That's not family. That's an emergency fund with a face." Philip's voice sharpened. "So you're just going to let us lose everything?" I held his gaze. "You lost me first." Silence. Then I stepped back and closed the door. Not slammed, not dramatic, just closed. Daisy looked up at me. "We're not lowly," she said. I smiled. "No, sweetheart, we're not." And that was the last time I saw them. So tell me, did it go too far or not far enough? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, you know what to do. My family made matching t-shirts for all the cousins. My 7-year-old's t-shirt said, "The mistake." My father chuckled. "Better she hears it now." Nobody objected. I didn't shout. I did this. The next day, their lives started to unravel. We went on a family holiday to the beach. And I didn't know it then, but it was going to change everything. It was one of those big trips my parents loved to brag about. The whole clan came along. My sister Bianca with her kids, Max and Phoebe, my brother Josh, a few cousins, and me with my daughter Iris. The resort was the kind of place that looked good in pictures. Palm trees, pools, sand everywhere you didn't want it. The kids shrieked and splashed while the adults clinked glasses under umbrellas, pretending we were one big happy family. Iris had been buzzing for weeks. She's 7, and she doesn't always find it easy to keep up with her cousins. But this time she was glowing. She wanted to run with them, laugh with them, belong with them. For her, this trip was everything. And then Bianca stood up with her surprise. She dragged a beach tote over and pulled out a neat stack of white t-shirts. "Okay, cousins," she called, grinning like she'd just revealed a game show prize. "We made special shirts for everyone." The kids cheered. Iris's eyes widened. Matching shirts. A photo together? This was it. Proof she was one of them. Bianca handed them out one by one. Max tore his open first. "The snack monster!" he shouted, cookie crumbs still stuck to his chin. Everyone laughed. Phoebe held hers up. "The explorer!" she squealed, already darting toward the dunes. Another cousin unwrapped the fish and dove back into the pool, splashing the deck. The adults chuckled, nodding along, clapping at each reveal. Lighthearted, silly, harmless. And then it was Iris's turn. She peeled off the plastic carefully, like it was treasure. She pulled the shirt out, white and clean. Before she could even read it, Max snorted and blurted, "Look! The mistake!" Phoebe cackled, doubling over. A few cousins joined in, their laughter sharp and bright against the sound of waves. Iris stared at the letters, bold and black across the fabric. She held it up with trembling hands, her face collapsing as the words sank in. Silence spread, and then my father chuckled. "Better she hears it now." Nobody objected. Not Bianca, still smirking. Not my mother, who sipped her drink like she hadn't heard. Not Josh, eyes down on his phone. Not one of them. Iris hugged the shirt against her chest as if she could smother it, but her cheeks burned red. The sparkle she'd carried all week drained out of her. She looked at me, eyes wide, and I knew this moment would brand her if I let it. I wanted to tear that shirt in half. I wanted to shove it back into Bianca's smug hands and watch her choke on it. But all I heard in my head was one bitter line. Apparently cruelty came free with the cocktails. Iris's lip quivered. A sound rose in her throat, but she swallowed it down. She didn't even have words for the hurt. That was my breaking point. I stood. My chair screeched against the tiles, loud enough to snap heads around. I reached for Iris's hand, small, shaking, but mine to protect. "We're leaving," I said. My voice was steady, sharp as glass. Gasps rippled across the pool deck. Someone muttered, "Overreacting." Bianca rolled her eyes like I'd ruined her fun. My mother's face pinched in disapproval. I didn't care. We walked out. Past the pool, past the umbrellas, past every single pair of eyes that had chosen silence over decency. Iris's shirt dangled from her fist, the word burning like a scar across the cotton. Outside the gates, the air felt different, cooler, sharper. I knelt down, brushing the damp strands of hair from her face. Her cheeks were wet. She looked like she hadn't even realized she was crying. I pulled her close. My voice was calm, even, but inside I was fire. In this moment, I had made a decision that would change everything. The next day, their lives would start to unravel. People think the explosion is the big moment, the shirt, the insult, the laughter. But that was only the spark. The truth? The dynamite had been stacked for years. I was the middle child. That's all you need to know. Bianca, my older sister, was the golden one. She was the hope, the investment, the pride of the family. Josh, my younger brother, was the baby. He was allowed to stumble, fail, crash, and still be full of potential. And me? I was the useful one, the invisible glue. You could lean on me, but you'd never brag about me. The house was the first sign of how that role would follow me into adulthood. When Bianca's beauty business, the one my parents had bankrolled like it was Apple stock, crashed into bankruptcy, their credit went with it. They had a deposit saved for a new house, but no bank would touch them. Josh was still in school, so they came to me. I was working in accounting, steady paycheck, clean credit. "It's just a formality," they said. "We'll pay. We just need your name on the paperwork." I signed. Of course I did. On paper, it was mine. In reality, it was theirs. At the time, I wasn't living there. I had my own little rental, my own life. And for a while, it didn't matter. Then Iris was born. That was the earthquake. The pregnancy was unexpected. The father disappeared before I'd even wrapped my head around it. And Iris came weeks too soon, a tiny bird of a baby in a nest of wires. The NICU is a place you don't forget. The beeping, the plastic walls of the incubator, the sterile air. I sat there night after night, staring at her chest rising and falling, terrified it would stop. Doctors gave me statistics, probabilities, numbers I couldn't bear to hear. There were nights I thought I'd lose her. Nights I cried into my hands in the hallway, praying to anything that would listen. Then came the miracle. Slowly, she fought her way out. She opened her eyes. She gripped my finger with a hand so small it barely wrapped around my nail. She learned to breathe. When she finally came home, she carried one scar, a minor hearing loss, a small aid tucked behind her ear. Otherwise, she was whole. But here's the part that gnawed at my parents. The bills. Insurance didn't cover everything. I drained my savings. I took out a loan. Every cent I had went into keeping my daughter alive. And that meant I wasn't funneling cash into their emergencies anymore. They noticed. And they remembered. Even years later, they'd bring it up. "All your money went there," my mother would say, like saving Iris had been a foolish expense. And then, for a moment, they fooled me. When Iris was released, fragile and small, they seemed supportive. My mother cooked. My father drove me to appointments. Bianca dropped off hand-me-downs. For a few days, I thought maybe this was family. Maybe, after all the years I'd carried them, they were finally carrying me. So I moved into the house. I thought it was safety. I thought it was help. It was neither, because soon the old habits returned. "Just a little for groceries. Split the utilities. It's only fair. Cover the repairs. You know how expensive boilers are." By the time Iris was walking, I was paying rent. By the time she started school, I was paying more to live in my parents' house than I ever had for my own place. And the better I did at work, the higher the number climbed. Every promotion, every new client, it came with another contribution. Outside the house, they told a different story. "We let Sarah and the baby stay with us," they'd say, smiling like saints. "We're supporting them." Supporting us. Sure. Let's call it that. Meanwhile, Iris was growing up. She was bright, funny, curious, but the dynamic I'd known all my life started creeping over her. Bianca's kids were geniuses for remembering to flush. Iris? She had to climb mountains to get half the recognition. It was in the little things, the way she was excluded from games, the way her hearing aid became a joke, the way silence filled the room when she looked for approval. I saw it. The old role being handed down, the scapegoat script sliding onto my daughter's shoulders. 7 years like that. Me paying, her shrinking, our world rearranging itself around everyone else's comfort. Then came the holiday, the pool, the shirts, the mistake. That wasn't the explosion. That was the spark that reached the fuse. That was the moment something in me cracked. Not quietly this time, but loud enough that nothing would ever be the same again. The car ride home was silent. Not the peaceful kind of silence, but the kind that buzzes in your ears like an alarm you can't switch off. Iris sat in the back, staring out the window, clutching that awful white shirt in her lap. I kept glancing at her in the mirror, hoping she'd cry or shout or say anything. She didn't. And somehow, that was worse. When we pulled into the driveway, she finally spoke. Just one line. "Mom, can we just stay in our room tonight?" Our room. My daughter was 7, and she already thought of that cramped corner of the house as a place to hide. I wanted to tell her the truth, that nothing about this house had ever really been ours. Not the deed, not the space, not even the air we breathed. But she didn't need that. Not tonight. So I nodded, kissed her forehead, and tucked her in. Then I went downstairs and sat at the kitchen table, staring at the bills, the receipts, the paper trail of a life I'd been paying for while they pretended they were supporting me. And that's when it hit me. I was done. Done with being the quiet one, the invisible one, the one they could bleed dry while telling the world I should be grateful. This was my house. My name on the deed. My proof in black and white, stacked high in that folder on the table. Tomorrow, I'd stop living like a guest in my own home. Tomorrow, they'd finally see who really held the keys. The next morning, I carried that folder into a lawyer's office. He flipped through page after page, his expression darkening. "This is a lot," he said finally. "Try surviving it," I told him. He looked up. "Whose name is on the deed?" "Mine." "Then it's your house," he said flatly. "You can evict them." It was that simple. Years of silence shattered in one conversation. That evening, the kitchen was set like a stage. My lawyer sat beside me, the eviction notice folded neatly in front of him. I kept my hands flat on the table, heart pounding so loud I thought it might shake the glasses in the cupboard. The front door opened. My parents stepped in, dragging their suitcases behind them, still smelling of sunscreen and sea air. My mother's voice was bright with fake cheer. "We're home!" she called out. Then she stopped, blinking at the sight of me and a stranger sitting at the kitchen table. "What's this?" she asked, frowning. The lawyer stood smoothly. "Mr. and Mrs. Bennett. My name is," he said, introducing himself as he slid the papers across the table. "You're being served." This is a 30-day eviction notice my parents didn't understand at first. They exchanged a quick glance, confusion, not fear. My dad dropped the suitcases and frowned. "What's going on?" "You're back early," I said quietly. "Good." "What's this?" my mom asked, setting the bag on the counter. "Who's he?" The lawyer cleared his throat. "Mr. and Mrs. Bennett. My name is Paul Henderson. I'm here on behalf of your daughter." Their faces stiffened. My dad's jaw tightened. My mom's hand hovered over the counter. "On behalf of our daughter?" she echoed, like she'd misheard him. Paul slid the papers across the table. "These are formal eviction notices." You have 30 days to vacate the premises. Silence. A long, heavy silence, like the room itself stopped breathing. Then my mom laughed. Actually laughed. A high, brittle sound. "This is ridiculous," she said. "What kind of joke is this?" "It's not a joke," Paul replied evenly. My dad took a step closer to the table, his eyes narrowing. "Eviction," he said. "We own this house." I stood. My knees felt like water, but my voice stayed steady. "No, it's in my name. It's always been in my name." Mom's laugh broke off. "That was a formality. A technicality. You know that. We asked you as a favor. This is our home. You asked me to put it in my name," I said, "because your credit was ruined after helping Bianca." I was 23. I didn't argue. "But I've been paying for years, more than you ever did." Their confusion started to fracture. Mom's smile twitched, faltered. Dad's face went red. "You're not serious," he said. "You're not actually doing this." "I am." My mom's hand gripped the counter edge so hard her knuckles whitened. "We gave you everything," she hissed. "We took you back in when no one else would. We let you live here. You charged me rent." I cut in. "You took thousands every month. And when my daughter was fighting to survive in NICU, you told me she was draining me dry." That landed. My dad flinched. Mom's mouth opened, but no words came out. Paul pushed a second document forward. "These are the financial records your daughter provided." Payments. Transfers. Years of them. My dad snatched the papers up and rifled through them. The color in his face darkened. "You've been keeping records?" "Yes." My voice cracked on the word, but I didn't look away. "Every cent. And it adds up to more than the equity in this house. I'm not stealing anything from you. I paid for it." Mom's voice rose, shrill now. "You're our daughter!" "You think you can just throw us out like strangers?" "I didn't throw you out," I said quietly. "You did that yourselves. You just didn't notice the room went still." Their eyes finally showed it. Not confusion anymore, but disbelief. Then fury. In their minds, this wasn't me taking back what was mine. It was betrayal, treason, robbery. My dad slammed the papers onto the table. "You'll regret this. You'll crawl back. This is our house, Sarah." Ours, I met his glare. "Not anymore." Paul stood then, smoothing his tie. "You have 30 days, he said calmly. "We recommend you begin arrangements immediately." Mom's voice cracked on a whisper. "How could you do this to us?" I didn't answer, because if I did, I might start to cry. I just watched as they stood there, sunburned and stunned, still clutching their bags like they'd walked into the wrong house. The shouting came then. Rage, betrayal, curses flung like knives. But the fight was gone. The shock had hollowed them. They saw it now, as clearly as I did. They had 30 days, and for the first time in my life, it wouldn't be me packing the boxes. The house was too quiet after they were served. Not peaceful, not restful, just heavy. My parents moved around like shadows, every cupboard shut a little harder than necessary, every footstep deliberate, like they wanted me to hear the weight of their anger. They barely spoke to me directly, only muttered to each other in half-finished sentences. The silence didn't feel like surrender. It felt like plotting, and I was right. About a week later, they asked me to sit down in the living room. Just to talk. Bianca came too, like she'd been waiting for her cue. I had a gut feeling this wasn't really a conversation, more like a trap. But I didn't say that out loud. Not yet. I just sat down and waited. We sat facing each other, me on the edge of the couch, them lined up like a tribunal. My mother folded her arms, Bianca smirked like a cat who'd swallowed a canary, and my father leaned forward with that rehearsed look of disappointment that had been my lullaby growing up. My mom started it. "Sarah, you can't go through with this eviction. It's cruel. It's wrong. You'll regret it." I didn't answer. I just let them talk. My father picked it up. "If you insist on stealing from us, then we'll have no choice but to tell the truth about you." "Truth?" I raised an eyebrow. Dry humor. My armor. "That'll be new." Bianca leaned in. "We'll go to CPS." There it was. "We'll tell them how you drink," my mother added quickly. "We'll show them the videos." It took me a second to realize what she meant. The clip from a barbecue last summer. I'd had a single glass of wine while Iris played with her cousins. That was their evidence. "And we'll testify," Bianca said smoothly. 3 witnesses. Independent. We'll say you leave her alone, that she's neglected, that you scream at her, that she comes to school with bruises. Lies, I said flatly. "Testimony," my father corrected. His eyes were cold. "Do you really think they'll believe you over us?" 3 adults. Family. United. For a moment, the room tilted. The air felt thick, like I was breathing through cotton. I looked at their faces, my parents, my sister, and realized they weren't bluffing. They meant it. They would burn me to the ground if I didn't roll over. But I didn't flinch. I didn't argue. I just stood up. "We're done here." I walked out, took Iris by the hand, and left the house. We packed 2 bags and went to stay at a friend's place across town. For the first time in years, I didn't tell my parents where I was. The next morning, I walked into my lawyer's office. I set my phone on his desk and told him I'd hit record before that talk. I'd had a gut feeling they were going to try something, so I'd slipped it into my pocket and let it run. When the recording played, the room filled with their voices. "If you insist on stealing from us, we'll tell the truth about you. We'll go to CPS. We'll testify." 3 witnesses. Independent. When the recording ended, the silence in the office was different from the silence at home. This silence had weight. My lawyer leaned back slowly, his eyes sharper than I'd ever seen them. "This is extortion," he said. "And it's a crime." I nodded, but my throat was tight. Hearing it back made it even uglier. He tapped the phone. "This is admissible." One-party consent. It's enough to ruin them if they try anything. "Good," I said. My voice cracked, so I cleared it and tried again. "Good." He leaned forward. "Here's what we do. We serve them with this recording. We make it clear. If they try to file a report, we go to the police first. False reporting, blackmail, extortion. They'll be the ones in court, and if they go ahead anyway, then CPS investigates. And this recording will bury them. You'll walk out clean. They won't." For the first time in weeks, I almost laughed. Dry, bitter, but real. Finally, they'll tell the truth without meaning to. That evening, we went back to the house. Not with Iris. She stayed safe with my friend. Just me and the lawyer. My parents and Bianca were at the kitchen table, mid-conversation, when we walked in. They froze. "What now?" my father growled. My lawyer didn't waste time. He set my phone on the table, pressed play, and let their voices betray them. "We'll go to CPS. We'll testify." 3 witnesses. The color drained from my mother's face halfway through. My father tried to bluster, but his voice caught. Bianca's smirk collapsed like paper in the rain. When it ended, the silence was brutal. "This," my lawyer said, calm as ever, "is blackmail. It's extortion, and it's false reporting. All felonies." He leaned in, his voice sharp enough to cut glass. If you so much as make a phone call to CPS, this recording goes straight to the police. You will not only lose this house, you will face criminal charges. My father slammed his hand on the table. She's our daughter, and she's stealing from us. Correction, I said, my voice like stone. I'm your daughter, and I'm done letting you steal from me. My mother shook her head, eyes wet. We trusted you. We gave you everything, and you're tearing this family apart. No, I said quietly. You did that the second you called my child a mistake. For once, they had no answer. They shouted, of course. They always shouted, betrayal, betrayal, betrayal. But under the noise was something new. Fear, because this time, I wasn't bluffing. They had 30 days, and now they knew if they tried anything else, they wouldn't just lose a house. They'd lose everything. They moved out on the 30th day, just like the papers said. Suitcases out the door, no goodbye, no apology. I didn't watch them go. I just let the silence close in behind them, a silence that, for once, belonged to me. 6 months later, the house is still ours. No slammed doors, no whispered digs, no tension hanging in the hallways. Just me and Iris. She laughs louder now. She invites friends over, fills the rooms with drawings, music, and noise that feels like life. She's not the mistake. She's just a kid, my kid, and she's happy. I went no contact. My parents, Bianca, all of them. No calls, no texts, no family talks. And if I'd ever doubted whether taking the house was the right thing, their stunt with Child Protective Services killed that doubt forever. That was the mask slipping. They didn't care about Iris or me. They cared about money, control, appearances. And now, they lost all of it. Then one evening, out of the blue, Josh called. My brother. He said he wanted me to know he hadn't been part of the t-shirt humiliation, that he'd heard about the CPS threat, and that it was, in his words, messed up. He told me I did the right thing. I didn't invite him back into my life, but I let him say it. Maybe that was enough. So that's where it stands. No apologies, no dramatic reunion, just distance. And finally, peace. So what do you think? Did I go too far or not far enough? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more.